2 races remain in the Winstel Cup Series season, and the chase is only going to get tighter for the Winstel Cup. A week off, everyone comes in revived, rejuvenated, refreshed, and ready to take on these last 2 races. First up on the docket, it is Phoenix Raceway, a 1-mile oval in the desert just south of Phoenix, Arizona. 30 cars set to do battle here tonight at a very peculiar short oval that always has been. We're glad you're with us here on ABN for Winstel Cup Series action here on a wonderful Sunday night with 2 races to go. So let's dive into it. The points going into this event. Jacob Potak has done a fantastic job this season. Can he close it out? That has been a very big question. He has not been quick compared to previous weeks here in Phoenix. He has met his match. Looking at practice times so far, we'll see if that changes here in qualifying. Qualifying going on right now in the background behind the screen at the moment. He's on an 89-point gap to Christian Budd, who was fastest in practice. Christian Budd currently provisionally P2 in the qualifying times. Dylan Roberts, Emily Howe, top 4. You quickly look at drivers that are, for a lack of a better term, practically eliminated from the competition, from the Chase Winstel Cup. Sean Pelleg just outside a race gap. He just took provisional pole from Christian Budd. So he could get himself back into that gap going into Atlanta, but then you still need a Hail Mary in Atlanta next week to have a chance at the championship. Potak qualified P4. So he found a little bit of pace there, but was struggling in practice. We'll see how that plays out in race time with everything going on here at Phoenix. Gabriel Mauricio also more than a race out, unless he picks up the pace in a tremendous way like he did in qualifying. He's P3 on the grid right now. He's practically out. Jeremy Davis, Nick Doucette, Brandon McKissick, Tyler Head, they are definitively out. Doucette, McKissick, Head, they were out before this race began. Jeremy Davis, if things don't improve or if somehow the sky doesn't fall in his favor, he's eliminated from championship contention officially tonight. He is a race and a half behind going in. Never say never. It is Phoenix. Crazy things have happened. And then you look on the outside of the chase. You look at Jose Solis Jr., Christina Ryan, Brennan McGee, Ryan Hill, Kyle Benson, your top 15. This obviously just kind of being best of the rest. Also important for car selection for next season. Throwback to the 2007 season next year. Everyone gets to choose the car that they want to drive based on their points order. So that's where this gets a little bit more spicy to see how that plays out. You look a little further down the order. You look at Tom Willett. His first season in Winstel has been pretty successful. He's trying to get into the top 20. Could realistically do that with 2 races to go. And then, as we're going to try to go into the top 35, currently it's in the hands of Corey Steinhauser with 2 races to go. We'll see how that plays out with a little bit more time on the board here. Steinhauser had Ryan Doucette, Andrew Griesbaum. Top 35 gets you in, locks you in to the first 4 races in next season. Usually, that's when you have more than 43 cars trying to qualify for a race. That's when you have to send some cars home. So top 35, if you've ever finished this way, if you're able to be there by the end of Atlanta next week, you ain't got to worry about that. You're locked in to those first 4 races next year, no matter what. Pretty big deal when you look at how Daytona this season had over 50 people trying to qualify. And with qualifying done and dusted, we will go ahead and go over the qualifying results here. It is Sean Pelleg, 2-time race winner this season, looking for a 3rd. He's never won 3 races in a single season in his Winstel career. Uncharted territory. For his championship's sake, he needs to. He'll start alongside Christian Budd on the front row. Gabriel Mauricio in row 2 alongside Jacob Potak. Mauricio needs a great race. It needs Potak to have a less than stellar one to have a chance at the championship. Larry Pace, Nick Doucette. They're in row number 3. Emily Howe, Dylan Roberts in row 4. Lucas Davila and Ryan Hill make up your top 10. They are in row number 5. Row 6, Tom Willett. Talk about him trying to get into the top 20. An 11th place starting position for your Phoenix will help. He's starting alongside Parker Alexander, Kirk Marble, and Christian Poe in row 7 behind them. Christina Ryan, Jeremy Davis in row number 8, ahead of Brendan McGee and Brandon Cruz, who sit in row 9. Row 10, Craig Lautenslager and Kyle Benson make up that 10th row to cap out the top 20. Remember, we have 30 cars here on the racetrack. This final page. Going in, Alex Bates, Tyler Murray in row 11, Matt Skipper, Brandon Coppinger in row 12. Row 13, Andrew Griesbaum and Philip Snipes, Evan Locke, Ken Huff in row 14. Corey Steinhauser, Chris Bishop. They make up row 15, the top 30 completed there. And as you can tell, Philip Snipes all the way down did not set a qualifying time. One suspension due to incident point occurrences. Corey Cook will sit out this race and we'll be back for the finale in Atlanta. 31 car absent from tonight's grid as we get ready to go racing. Again, I'm glad you're with us here for a Sunday night of action. 2 more Sunday nights of action for the Winstel Cup Series. This is the penultimate race in Phoenix. Atlanta comes up next Sunday at 8 p.m. We'll see you there. For those interested in HTL Cup Series action or just more action in general, HTL Cup Series racing next. Monday, tomorrow. I was going to say the next evening. Monday is what that is. It'll be a lot of fun going into Michigan for that event tomorrow night. As you see 2 laps of formation here. So the HL Cup Series tomorrow night in Michigan. And we'll stay in Michigan for the ARC Octane Series next Saturday. Cars in this field, ready to go. Car moves to the back of the field. See the 12 Chris Bishop there. I believe he failed it. I do believe he did not set a qualifying time. I'm not sure if that was by choice or if there was a penalty to be served there for the 12 car. I saw a little bit of movement at the back of the field. But all 30 cars are on the racetrack, ready to take the green flag here. It is Peleg, Bud, Mauricio, and Potak front of the field. We go green. The Checker Auto Parts 500 is underway. And they will stay side by side at a turn 1. The dogleg for the first time at speed all together. 75 laps, 75 miles. Christian Budd making that outside lane work. A little bit of a twitch there from the 48. And the pole sitter drops the race lead on lap 1 to the defending Winstel Cup Series champion, Christian Budd, ahead of Peleg. Potak up to 3rd, Mauricio in 4th. The outside lane, the first 3 rows, really all the way through the first 5 rows, all successful here as everyone jockeys for position further back. Brendan McGee had a bit of an issue on his own here on lap 2. We'll take a look as to why. And just a spin on his own out of turn 2. Tried saving it, snap spins, and drops himself all the way down to 30th place. He qualified 17th. See, there he is right now. Christian Bud got clean air, and he has said goodbye to Sean Pelley. He's already put half a second on him in the first 4 laps of this race. See what Sean can do here in that 48 car, trying to reel him back in. I saw him struggle, though, in turns 3 and 4 pretty mightily. Little loose there to turn 2 as well. Little floaty for the 48 car. See if we can get an onboard there of the 48. There we go. Right beside the driver's head. As you're right on board of the 48. Keep an eye on the steering wheel. Obviously, you can see the orange line at the top of the steering wheel. That is center line on the steering wheel. You see him already sawing at the wheel a little bit. He's constantly moving that steering wheel. The smoother you are, usually the happier you are in that sort of situation. Fighting it just a little bit. Trying to keep it on the yellow line. A little loose there out of 4 when he put the power down. About 730 horsepower in these cars. Dancing around. Dance around with all that power. It's the rear wheels. You can see a little bit of what the 48 is going through right now. Trying to keep up with the 17 of Christian Bud, who leads the way. They've opened up a second to to Jacob Potak in 3rd. Looking back there from the driver net of your pole sitter, a little bit of a gap there, all the way back to P3. Nick Bissette's made up a couple spots as well, as Mauricio has dropped down to 5th. Well, your fastest motorsports machine, the 24 car, in 4th. Sorry, no, the 48 Pele is the fastest motorsports machine in 2nd. Dennis Bissett, Dennis Mauricio, the 3 full-time motorsports machines this season. All in the top 5 at the moment. And Nick Bissett really trying to challenge Jacob Potak for that 3rd spot. 48's not going to complain about that at all. See how that needs to play out there. It's about half a second between 1st and 2nd, a second between 2nd and 3rd, and then a little bit tighter. Mauricio struggling to keep pace with the podium runners at the moment, under threat from Larry Pace and the 6 of Dylan Roberts. The 6 of Dylan Roberts, the 15 Emily Howe. 34, Lucas Davila, Ryan Hill, Tom Willett, just inside the top 10 in 11th right now. As Roberts challenges Larry Pace for the 6th spot. Gets around, stays ahead of the 6 car of Roberts there. Did not get around him. Started ahead of him and stayed ahead of him. Roberts had to check back up. Emily Howell took a shot. Didn't pay off there in 3 and 4. Side by side, further back, that is Kirk Marble and Chris Champeau, side by side, and just behind them, Christina Ryan trying to work her way around Jeremy Davis on the outside lane, and will do so. Gets clear for a moment for the 4 car, drives it in deep there in 3 and 4. So some gridlock racing going on as well as the front of the field spreads out. Davis trying to drive in deep there underneath the 88. Rolling through the corners. Pulled away from Kirk Marble there. Ryan got clear of Davis. And this is all 13th on down at the moment as things sit. Sienna Ryan trying to get around the 16. Trying to move up into that 14th spot. Comes Davis once again. Kyle Benson is behind this as well, 38. Teammates with Christina Ryan. And then you have Alex Bates in the 40, Philip Snipes in the 97, and Brandon Coppinger, the 66. Right there in line in 20th place. Do have a bit of a threat for second place brewing now. Rotak with long run pace, beginning to threaten the 48 of Sean Pellick. Nick Bissett, Gabriel Mauricio, your top 5 still ahead of Larry Pace. Company. This gap was over a second, and now it's down less than 0.4. So the 48 feeling the pressure of the points leader as that gap closes more and more. And as we get ready to come to complete lap 21-75 here at Phoenix. Been caution-free so far. One major incident to report was the spin from Brennan McGee at the back of the field. No caution, it was a single car as he spun into the dirt out of turn 2. Pellick trying to find a place with grip, and will be left begging as the 22 makes quick work of a pondering and increasingly frustrated 48. Sean needs to finish ahead of the 22. And needs to finish ahead by a couple spots to stay in the mathematical equation for the championship next week in Atlanta. browsing and perusing through this field, seeing what battles we got going on at the moment. We have a car coming down pit lane. Jeremy Davis on lap 25 will make his way down pit lane for the first time. So looking at potentially a two-stop race here, with Davis coming in here right at the 1/3 mark. We'll see how the race leaders take that. Jeremy Davis was not a threat in that top 10. He was sitting down in the 16th position when he came down pit lane. So the leaders may not pay attention to that too awful much, but could be a good indicator the pit stops are not too far away. As Davis made that leap. Ken Huff will have to go a lap down on the racetrack. The number 10 car struggling just a bit. Jacob Potak, Sean Pellig, Nick Doucette, Gabriel Mauricio, your top 5 still side by side. This battle between Larry Pace and Dylan Roberts has not gone away. Roberts late into this first run gets that 09 finally for 6th place, but it's taken him the better part of 30 laps to try to do so. Roberts up to 6th. Very important, that position. Over a third of the way through this race. Points as they currently run. Christian Budd doing a good job right now closing that gap down. Still going to take a lot of work going into Atlanta with how good the 22 car has been, but he improves his chance going into that race. Dylan Roberts needs a lot more help. 122 points behind the points leader is not a great place to be. Sean Pellig, the 48 car, 4th place, mathematically would be out if this race came to an end as things are right now. As would Emily Howell there in 5th. You see Mauricio, Doucette, Davis, all of them would be well done in their championship campaign. Noah Jose Solis Jr. does close the gap up quite a bit for Christina Ryan there in 12th place, trying to go for 11th. Being the best of the rest outside the chase. Goes it down to a meager 12 points as things run. Christina Ryan can help herself out quite a bit, though, if she can get up closer to the top 10 and take that 11th place here and try to defend it in Atlanta next Sunday. See how that plays out as everything goes along. Only one car making a pit stop here, and that was Jeremy Davis on lap 25. It seems everyone trying to aim for the halfway point here in Phoenix and trying to make this a one-stop equation, which is, I think, the smarter choice. Halfway point is lap 38. That's when you cross over into that second half of the race. That's what everyone is aiming for right now. Roberts trying to chase down and pass. Gabriel Mauricio trying to help himself out and mitigate the damage that is being lost to the 22 car. Cars coming up pit lane, Brandon Cruz. Second car down pit lane, could not quite make it halfway. See now pit lane there, the 20 car, that Home Depot machine. Larry Pace, first one from the top 10 to come down pit lane. Here he comes. Could not get the extra couple laps to get to the halfway point. Has to come in on lap 36. How about Christian Budd? Can he go halfway? You're within range now. If you can save a little bit, you can get there in the second half of the race. He's going to try to stretch it out a little bit more. And a couple more laps to go before that halfway point looms. Lucas Davila, the Argentine, down pit lane as well from the top 10. It's been a tale of two halves of the season for the 34 car. The second half being a lot better than the first. And that shows right now for the Davila. Those 4 top 10s have all come late in the season, as well as that top 5 this season. He has been outstanding and improving in the second half in that plain white machine. As he comes down pit lane, Nick Doucette also down pit lane from the top 10, as is Parker Alexander, who was just outside the top 10 in 12th at the time that the pit cycle began. Alex Bates also down pit lane. All the leaders still out at the moment as things sit, but we are at the halfway point. We have gotten into the halfway, the second half of this race, and Christian Budd comes in, not stretching it any further. He'll put the 22 and the 48 on the back foot. Undercut will be successful here by and large. Just with the amount of tire fall off that we've seen already, over a second here for everybody. Closer to a second and a half is the fall off from the first half of the race so far. And down pit lane to cover off that undercut is the 22. And importantly, Potak also led a lap there, so he has 5 extra bonus points. Will Roberts just now led a lap as well, so important bonus points now taking place in this exchange. Christina Ryan staying out as well. I'm assuming we'll also be aiming for those bonus points. That's 5 extra, and she was not under threat in that 15th spot going in to this cycle. So if he stays out a couple extra, Roberts comes in this time. She knows that, and she will not stay out even longer. Comes up pit lane here on lap 40. Benson will do the same. Teammates to the 38 and the 88. Evan Locke comes in. Brandon Coppinger also makes a trip down pit lane. Tyler Murray will stay out, but he will not lead a lap. Roberts already crossed the line. Brandon McGee also staying out. Craig Lautenschlager, Matt Skipper, Andrew Griesbaum, and Corey Steinhauser all staying out. 6 cars so far. Yet to pit down pit lane. Potak grabbed the race lead away from Christian Budd, and that is not what he wanted to see. So Potak uncorked one. But also Nick Doucette, the undercut did work for him. He is in a close fight in that top of the board. Murray, McGee, Skipper down pit lane. Lautenschlager, Griesbaum, Steinhauser still out. Guarding the inside lane because he's coming up pit lane this time, as does Lautenschlager and Griesbaum. Potak assumes the race lead once again as they come across Ken Huff and Brandon Cruz. Potak threading the needle on the lap traffic and worked out spectacularly. Get around Tyler Murray, who went a lap down. Traffic, name of the game. There's Sean Pele, the 48 car, in 4th. Larry Pace, top 5 at the moment. Got around the 5 on that pit stop cycle. Christina Ryan also stayed out longer and got a position, got ahead of Kirk Marble, the 16 car. Great run so far. As the field rolls around, 31 laps to go. Over for the 21. Tom Willett had a little bit of an issue through turns 1 and 2. Car back rolling and in the right direction, but will lose a spot. Christina Ryan helping herself to another spot in that 88 machine that's up to 13th. Willett drops down to the 14th spot there for Wood Brothers Racing. 3 cars very close and under a blanket. 4 cars. The 48's in that mix too. Trying to go for a race win here in Phoenix. And closer and closer to lap 50 in that 2/3 mark here in Arizona. People cheering on the 55 of Steinhauser as he was cycled to the front for a moment. He's currently sitting in the 26th spot, a lap down. There's a lot of cars a lap down. 10 cars have all gone a lap down at this point. Brandon Coppinger, the last car on the lead lap at 20th. And just up the road from this top 4. See how that plays out. There'll be more traffic in this race as things cycle through. Well, the top 4 battles. There's also a battle further down the order. Roberts, Davila, Emily Howe, all in the mix. Davila in pretty good company with Roberts in front, Emily Howe behind. He's holding off that 15 pretty well, up in the 8th spot. Talked about it when he came down pit lane, but it's always cool seeing drivers take that leap forward like Davila has and figuring things out. Obviously still a challenge, trying to hold off Emily Howe in that 15 car. And we know how good she is normally. But if you had told Davila that he'd be in this position at the start of the season after he had crashed out of the first 4 races, he wouldn't have believed it. So great work for the 34 camp all season, persevering and pushing through and working on that car throughout the season. Very excited to see what he does in 2026. As they battle it up for the 8th spot. Ryan Hill just behind them by a little bit in 10th. And it's Parker Alexander in 11th. Chris Champeau and Christina Ryan are top 13 ahead of Willett and Bates. You round out your top 15 and leads another battle. There's Marble, there's Benson, the 16 and the 38 also in tow. Battles in clusters here at Phoenix. With less than 25 laps to go. Kotak is trying to leave a battle behind him. And make things very difficult going into Atlanta. Points as they run, 94 the gap between Kotak and Bud. Bud, by leading the first majority of the race here, has a good shot at leading the most laps. I believe actually he confirmed that. He led the most laps in the race. That's why he went all the way to 38. So that'll help him out. That's not factored in. The most laps led not factored into this equation just yet. That's an extra 5 bonus points. So that'll bring it down to 89. But Potak in the wings will have a pretty large margin over Bud and over Dylan Roberts in third as things hold up. Now they got around Nick Doucette, the 48 around the 24. Not going to help him out too often much. He needed to finish ahead of the 22, and that is very hard to do right now. Also that battle for the 11th spot in points right now is currently down to 6 points. Going through the last race, if Sienna had led a lap, it'd be down to 1 point. That's how close that battle is. A couple more spots and it will be in her hands, but it's requiring her to also get around Chris Champeau and Parker Alexander, who are no slouches here at Phoenix. Battle continuing to rage a little bit. Christina Ryan closing in on Chris Champeau. As behind her teammate trying to battle for the 14th spot, Kyle Benson has moved forward around the 21 and around the 40. But still trying to get around the 16 of Kirk Marble. A couple more battles further down the running order. You have Greg Wattenslager battling with Andrew Griesbaum to a degree. There they are, 49 to 99. And then Corey Steinhauser under threat from Matt Skipper as they work around Ken Huff. Skipper in that Tequila Patron 37. Steinhauser in the year 1 Monte Carlo, just up the road. And they're going to battle as that battle 14th comes on them. There's Marble. And then you got Benson, Willa, and Bates all in tow there. Coming to 15 laps to go is where we're at right now. Coming to 14 to go is the race leaders. They have still not put down the 66 a lap down yet, but there he is, just up the road from your race leader. If you can hold on for an extra 14 laps, that'll be impressive. I have a feeling the Grim Reaper is calling his dam. Put him a lap down. Philip Snipes 2 seconds up the road, a lot better. His chances of finishing on the lead lap as things go. Mauricio having to defend from Dylan Roberts. This is outside the top 5. This is for 6th. And Dylan Roberts drives in deep. Mauricio tries to over-under, and the Brazilian can't get to the line quick enough. Dylan Roberts covers it off, and Mauricio stuck in 7th now after Emily Howe got around Luke Stavela for the 8th spot. Still sitting about a 2 3/4 behind the 5 car. That 15 car may be stuck in the 8th spot for the remainder of the race. We'll see what she can do, though, as the battling rages on in the top 5. Alex Bates, Evan Locke, Tom Willett, all in this fight. Just inside the top 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. All in the mix. It was expected that Evan Locke would take a step forward in 2025. One top 5, 3 top 10s. Not where I think anyone expected him to be this season. The consistency's just not been there for the 2 car this season, and sitting right now in the 18th spot, sort of indicative of how frustrating the season has been as a whole for the Penske driver. Bates likewise, frustrating season for him. No top 10s at all. It has been a pretty big struggle for the 40 car. Tom Willett has a top 10 at least. His rookie season, a lot to build on going into 2026 as he battles the 40 and the 2 here. But everyone in this battle, it's eyes forward towards the next year and trying to rebound. A pace under threat from Dylan Roberts once again. The Canadians continue to battle it out. 3 of them in this mix, Dissett, Pace, and Roberts all together. See the 24 up the road with some lap traffic in between. He's very thankful that that's the case. But here comes Roberts to the inside and will clear the 9, trapped behind lap traffic. That's Chris Bishop, the 12. And Brendan McGee, the 9, also a lap down after that early spin. McGee up to the 21st position. Bishop at 28th, 2 laps down. And Pace has to keep an eye on that mirror because there's the Brazilian, Gabriel Mauricio, in 7th. Able to close in that lap traffic. So is Emily Howe. Emily Howe shaved off almost half a second. Car down pit lane, Ken Huff. Parker Alexander battling Ryan Hill for the 10th spot. It's car 7 and car 8. Ryan Hill and Parker Alexander side by side through turn 2. Ryan Hill uses the momentum from the outside lane to hold on to that 10th spot, but Alexander has been quicker. We've not said that, unfortunately, a lot for the 8 car this season. It's been a season of struggles for the 8 car. It looked pretty promising last season. So I ended up getting the 8 car to begin with. I mentioned at the top of the show, point standings are how you pick your car for the following year. Does not take a whole lot to figure out that Alexander was pretty high up the order to be able to pick up Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s machine. And it seems very unlikely that he'll be able to do so again next year, with where he's at right now in the points. Missed a few races as well. Only 2 top 10s, a top 5. But that, unfortunately, does not cut it for a season of what could be. Alexander really trying to figure out how to get around that 7 car. Roberts picked up the pace. He got around Larry Pace, got around Nick Doucette. And the 6 car ramping it up late. Mauricio got around Larry Pace. Still working on clearing him, as you can see. Does there in turn 4. The Pace has a chance to respond, and Emily Howe is not far away. Less than a second. With 3 to go. It is do or die time in Phoenix. If you're going to try to make up positions, not a lot you can do if you're Christian Butt on Jacob Potak. He has left you in a pile of dust, 1.8 seconds adrift. He's got 2 laps to go here in Arizona. And he's going to be very comfy going into Atlanta next Sunday. This battle rages on. Mauricio, Pace, Howe, 6th, 7th, and 8th on the board, as is the battle for 10th between Hill and Alexander. Latency there for the 7 car. You saw him blink out and in. Frustrating. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go in Phoenix. It is in the hands of Jacob Potak with 1.8 seconds in hand as we watch this battle rage on as they take the white flag as well. He has been unstoppable this season. 5 race wins. Make it 6 out of turn 4 for the final time. Jacob Potak will dance it around the start-finish line. He wins in Phoenix and makes it 6 wins and a near 100-point gap going in to Atlanta next Sunday for the finale. And a caution-free race. Jacob Potak grabs race win number 6 ahead of Christian Budd and Sean Peleg. 48 can't put on a good race. Unfortunately, not good enough. They will be out of the championship running going into Atlanta. But it also means no more pressure for the 48 car, who has performed excellently in 2025. Potak, your race winner, burns it down at start-finish line. We'll hear from our podium finishers in a moment as he burns it down. And burns it down completely. Engine's gone. But that's okay. Potak, your race winner in Phoenix. We'll get a new engine for Atlanta anyway. We'll go ahead and go through the race results here before we do our interviews here. Potak and Budd and Peleg, we'll hear from all three of them in just a moment. They finished top 3. Dylan Roberts, Nick Doucette, Gabriel Mauricio finishing top 6. Larry Pace holds on to 7th ahead of Emily Howe. Lucas Davila holds on for a top 10, finishing 9th ahead of Ryan Hill. Ryan Hill survived his battle with Parker Alexander, keeping Alexander down in the 11th spot. Parker Alexander ahead of Chris Champeau, Christina Ryan, Kirk Marble, Kyle Benson, your top 15. Evan Locke, Alex Bates, and Tom Willett, your top 18 on the lead lap. Philip Snipes, 19th place. Brandon Coppinger finishes top 20. Both of them a lap down here in Phoenix in this caution-free event. Brendan McGee, Tyler Murray, Andrew Griesbaum, top 23 for them. Griesbaum ahead of Craig Lautenslager. Brandon Cruz, Corey Steinhauser, all a lap down. 2 laps down each for Matt Skipper, Chris Bishop, Ken Huff, Jeremy Davis. We saw him come down pit lane on lap 25. He ended up retiring early on in this event, coming down and retiring on that lap 25 pit stop to end his campaign. But again, it's Jacob Potak, who now has a pretty wide buffer going into Atlanta, 94 points the gap. Dylan Roberts, 122 points back. Will need a little bit of a miracle with how strong that 22 car has been going into the season finale next Sunday. Sean Peleg officially out of the mathematical chances. Emily Howe also out. Both of them swap places, with the 48 performing a lot better in this postseason than the 15 car. That is how things sit going into the last race. 5 points the gap, though, so keep an eye on that battle between the 48 and the 15 next weekend. Mauricio also out of the running. Nick Doucette, we knew was going to have a hard hill to climb. Jeremy Davis, we knew his fight was over pretty much. Brendan McKissick, Tyler Head, having missed most of the chase, never really in the equation in that top 10. And then obviously we talk about the gap here. 6 points of swing between Solis and Ryan. Ryan Hill also in mathematical reach there of the 29 and the 88 with 1 race to go. Remember, he finished top 10 here as Ryan finished 13th. So that's also something to keep an eye on. Brendan McGee, he has slid so far. Another bad race here in Phoenix. He's got to try to pick up the pace going into Atlanta as well. Kyle Benson did well as well today. He stays 15th, but closes in on that fight in what has been a pretty big smorgasbord of who's who outside the chase. And Evan Locke, 16th. Consistent, but not consistently in the top 10. The 16 car, over 100 points adrift of the top 15 as it sits. Davila, we talk about how bad his season started. He's up to 17th. He gained 3 spots tonight alone to move up from 20th to 17th, ahead of Philip Snipes, Austin Reedy, who was not present tonight, and Jordan Barabee, who also missed out. We hope to see both of them in Atlanta next Sunday. That being so, pull the results at the top of your screen so you can see them as we get ready to interview our podium finishers here tonight. We'll start with third place, Sean Peleg, as we get ready to go and speak with him. Sean, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. A wild race here in Phoenix. Pole position didn't quite translate over to a race win, but another podium result, keeping that top 10 streak going. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, from my perspective, it wasn't too wild. I was lucky enough to, you know, even rarer than me winning is me putting it on pole. So that was a welcome surprise. Then, I mean, on the first lap, Christian just was flying. I didn't even get to lead a single lap the whole time. He flew by me, then Potak came by. I didn't have the speed to hold on to Jacob and Christian. What they didn't have in qualifying, they they made sure to have it for the race because I just didn't have the pace to hold on whatsoever. Um, yeah, it there not too much to it this time. Just trying to run my race, keep the car pointed in the right direction, and work through the few bits of lap traffic we got. I mean, I I usually hate Phoenix, and I won't say I loved driving this one, but yeah, definitely a welcome surprise to get a good result here.
I would say it probably is a little bit helped out by the fact that there were no cautions tonight. You talk about uh, just how easy it was to get into a sort of a groove. Obviously, the 17 and the 22 on their own little zip code. It's still a season of improvement. You talk about how this track typically isn't kind, and obviously a little bit of animosity. The track doesn't like you, you don't like the track. But this has been the season of the 48 just surging forward. We saw, and we've seen so many times this season, you win a Sonoma, you grab a second race win for the first time in your Winstel career, you have a legit chance of going for three in a single season. A race like this, when it's like, okay, not disappointing, how has that vibe been going through the second half of the season? And if even when the bad races feel like they're not so bad in comparison to what we've typically seen be the snowball effect for the 48 camp, your worst race of the 13th place, not a bad time in Winstel the second half of the season. Once we got back from Labor Day, it's been all gas for the 48 camp.
Yeah, I've definitely been fortunate to have a great second half to the season. I've been no stranger. I know last year I started off with, I mean, I could hardly finish a race. I was involved in so many wrecks early on that I know how easily it can get ugly. So for my worst finishes to still be top 15s in the last few months, it definitely helps keep me moving forward, keep the momentum up. It's tough, third is great. Unfortunately, the three people ahead of me in the in the point standings finished first, second, and fourth. So points wise, it kind of a stalemate. If anything, maybe, it definitely got even further away. Potak rattles off another one. I was looking at his stats. He's barely not finished first or second at any point here in the chase. So
Yeah.
tough battle. Definitely Homestead like to be there. Wanna make something happen. Hope to have speed and be able to put myself in the right position.
And that is the name of the game. The 48 car has been better at that than most since we got back from Labor Day with a third place tonight. Obviously helps out significantly. You can't finish worse than sixth in the points here going into the last race in Atlanta next Sunday, which is going to be pretty exciting, I think, all things considered. That race in Atlanta, we know how much it's going to be a handful. We know how much the mile and a halves typically are. What's the expectation going into that race? Those races went from being your nightmare to one of your biggest assets.
Yeah, I think I misspoke and said Homestead. My bad. This is 2000. Yeah. Atlanta. Atlanta should be very fun. Yeah, I'm sure we'll put on a really exciting show. Very sliding around. Um, but yeah, just definitely good to good to know that I can't finish any worse than sixth. I've been stuck outside the chase before. It's been a tough spot, so good to have a little bit of a security blanket almost there, and just try to have a clean mind going into the finale. Just try to lay it all out there. Yeah, just happy to make some of these tough spots on the calendar go a little better than I anticipated. Just try to make the ones I expect to go a little better, make sure they go the best.
The 48 camp has one more chance to go for race win number 3 in the season and race win number 12 for Sean in his Winstel career next Sunday in Atlanta. Before we let you go, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats on a phenomenal performance, another pole position this season, and another podium to go on top of it.
Yeah, like always, thank you to you, Carmen, and ABN for broadcasting these races. It's always awesome to be able to go back and watch us with the great way you guys put it on. Thank you to Brennan and Tyler and Bud and everyone at Winstel putting on everything. Emily for the fun setups we got. And yeah, just everyone around us. For just such an awesome racing experience I've been able to be a part of for almost a decade now. And one last thing, thank you, love you to mom and dad out there watching. Appreciate it.
Fantastic job for Sean Pelleg. The 48 car finishes 3rd place tonight here with 1 race to go. 4th place in points. Can't finish worse than 6th. Sean, congratulations. Go get it in Atlanta.
Thank you.
That was 48. And Sean Pelleg, your 3rd place finisher here tonight and your podium finisher from pole position. We'll move forward now. We'll move forward to the 17 camp. Christian Budd, who was trying in so many ways to try to keep that 22 car at bay. Pit stop sequence ends up being the undoing for the 17 camp, trying to go for the race win tonight. But Christian, walk us through that race. No cautions meant that everything had to be on the racetrack. Walk us through it.
I think I missed the first half of your question there, but long story short, I lost the race in the pits. It was kind of my own fault. Just didn't really get a good entry, and then coming out of the pits, I went to shift to 3rd, and the car just didn't shift. And I don't know. It's happened to me a couple times with this car. I don't know why it happens, but didn't go. So then lost some time there, and unfortunately, once I got behind, it was kind of over. I just couldn't really do anything.
Obviously, 75 laps caution-free at Phoenix. This is a track not renowned for its passing anyways. Leading the first 38 laps and losing on the pit stop sequence. What was it that, you talk about the shift that sort of cost you that time on the exit of pit lane. What was it that made passing so difficult at the front of the field? We saw the passing, all of the passing seemed like it happened outside the top 5 here tonight. Everything that happened in the top 5, it seemed like it was all pit lane based. What is that, just a matter of clean air versus dirty air here, or was the larger effect going on here? Because it's we've had several different cars here, and it's been the same sort of effect.
Well, my personal opinion of it is it's dirty air. I mean, that's what it is. It's, I guess back in the pack, because I guess people thought that wasn't a factor, but up front with the leader, especially it is. And I knew that. That's why I know Sean said at the beginning that, he lost the lead to me. And it was really because I drove it as absolutely hard as I could to get the lead, because I knew if I did, then I could just control the race. And I had it to that point, So just for the leader, it's a massive, massive deal at every track. So you can't overcome it. There's not a lot you can really do to do anything different. You can't really run different lines and make it better, is my experience. That's just what I see with it. So, and that's not to take anything away from Jake, because Jake drove a great race, and I really think Jake probably had the best car and was doing the best on the track. He just didn't have track position, and once he got it, he made sure he was able to win. So, it doesn't take anything away from him or anything. It's just how this is, and I don't. Other cars, like, yes, it's hard to pass, but usually it was hard to pass because when you got underneath somebody, you just had a really hard time completing the pass. There was a dominant second lane, but just you really never could even get there, and as far as I could tell. So, it's just very frustrating, I guess. But the setup was fun. I think everybody who worked on the setup this week, and Emily did a great job with the setup. The car was fun to drive in that sense. Just very air dependent.
And hopefully it's not going to be the case when we go to Atlanta next Sunday. We talk about tracks that are pretty exciting. Old Atlanta always top of the list there. We've seen so many photo finishes, including last season when Larry Page stole the show there to get his first race in Winstel. season finale. I think it's less championship and more just ending the season on a high note for everybody going into this race. Obviously, everyone's talked about the new car that we have right now that we're not going to see as things are currently planned next season. What is the sort of outlook for you going into Atlanta? Seems like the intermediates, they've done a little bit. Does Atlanta make it seem like it's going to be a pretty interesting race there, or are we going to look at a little bit more of the race leader has a bit more control over how that race goes?
Um, I guess the only X factor with any of the tracks is like, is there like really heavy tire wear or something that would come into play? But I think what you saw at Texas is probably similar to what you'll see at Atlanta. And I felt like Larry got the control of Texas there, and once he got it, it was really kind of his race to lose. So I don't expect that to change. And I also really don't know how the multi-groove's going to be there. That track's different. I mean, we've seen with like Charlotte, the new version being really slick, that it's a little bit more unpredictable, I guess. So, so it's possible. I don't say it's like completely foregone conclusion, but my feeling with it is that there's something with being in the front. You just it's really, I think it's a tire wear thing. You just can like have less tire wear, and over the longer run, everybody behind you just burn their stuff up and you just start driving off. So that's what I expect, but that doesn't mean it won't be a good race or can't be a good race. And Atlanta usually is fun. So, I'm sure setup wise, it'll be fun. But as far as how the race will play out, I don't know. We'll see.
We're hoping for an exciting race here, especially with Atlanta ending up the season before we go to the 2007 throwbacks next season that you and everyone's been working on behind the scenes. We can't wait to see how that plays out with the COT and the Gen 4 coming into play. Before we let you go and obviously let you enjoy the rest of your evening and obviously get through the week ahead, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats on the effort. Most laps led, second place, and another really good job in that 17 camp tonight.
Just thanks to everybody at Winstel who puts these on. All the work that went in, especially with setup stuff this week. Brennan and I couldn't be there, and the team stepped up and they put out a good, solid, fun setup to drive for everybody. And it was challenging tonight. I will say, like, as far as driving the car, this was one of the more fun ones to drive that we've had this season. So I liked that part of it a lot. And then just everybody who's watching and supporting us. And, you mentioned 2007 coming up, and I mean, it's, to me, it's going to be pretty exciting, pretty fun. It's going to be a little different, just even just a different car entirely with the COT being in the mix. We haven't driven that car in kind of competitive sense in a really long time, so I'm looking forward to that. And then lastly, just thanks to all the drivers who showed up tonight. Getting late in the season, and a lot of times the attendance starts to dwindle a little bit, but everybody who showed up tonight, really appreciate it.
A fantastic job here for the 17 camp. Christian Budd, second place here in Phoenix. We'll see him go for another race win and keep the championship hope alive in Atlanta next Sunday. Christian, enjoy the week ahead, and we'll hopefully talk to you again at the top spot in Atlanta.
Thank you.
And we will move to the man of the hour. 6 race wins this season. Sean Pellig summarized it for us for a little bit. It's been very rare that the 22 car has not finished first or second in the chase since it started. It is another race win for the 22 camp and a 94-point gap going into Atlanta. Jacob, walk us through it. 22 car did not seem up to your standards early. We saw it in practice. Practice times weren't great. Qualifying, you were 4th fastest in qualifying. It took getting the clean air in that pit stop to get to the race lead and set sail. Walk us through the race on your end and what you were fighting through in that first stage. Is the mic muted? It's not muted. I saw him mute and unmute. Something's not connected. Because we can't hear the 22 car.
Got me now?
There we go. We got him now.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was definitely tough at the beginning, but I just tried to save my tires early on in that run and was able to get by Sean, but it was really tough fighting for like half a tenth a lap trying to catch Christian there. I mean, I'm really, really lucky that the pit stop worked out and I got the lead there because that would have been really, really, really difficult to try and pass him on track. So, once I got the lead, figured it was going to be pretty simple if a caution didn't come out. So just managed the gap and had some fun running the outside lane at times and managing lap traffic and brought home the win.
As you mentioned, 6 race wins this season. It has been an impressive performance this year from the 22 car. You called your shot last season. You wanted to be a championship contender in that part-time effort last year. You said, I'm going to race full-time and I'm going for a championship. You're 1 race away from it with a 94-point gap going into Atlanta next Sunday. It has been a season of consistency. Even when you're not winning races, you're in the top 2, you're in the top 3, grabbing those points, making it difficult, keeping the pressure on here. We talk about it. The race was not a great start for the 22 camp. It was all about chipping away, finding a way to get the clean air to go and grab the race lead, and then not looking back at it. Looking at the stat line here, like, let me see if I can pull it up here on our end, because it is a wild one. 7 pole positions, 6 race wins, 15 top 5s, 16 top 10s, and 23 races so far. How do you summarize that?
It is a pretty good time, is how I'd summarize it for sure. Definitely just was focused, and yeah, as you said, I appreciate you remembering last season when I was declaring that I wanted to race full time. I was really excited about 2007 season after this, and I really wanted to get a good car number preference, and it looks like I've done a good job of that. So, but it's just been every week, like realizing that even if I'm not going to be in first, not throwing a race away, trying to go for first instead of finishing second or third, and something I think I struggled with in those part-time efforts of the past 2 years. So really just locking that down, and instead of going for glory every time, thinking about the bigger picture.
You've been clinical, you've been precise here, and you're 1 race away from grabbing the championship you said that you wanted to fight for almost a year ago to the day when we interviewed you when you last raced in that season. 94 points the gap. Atlanta, going to be a strong race. It's going to be a race where just about everyone and their mother shows up because it's a race that everyone loves. What is the vibe for you going into that race, knowing you don't need to be perfect? You don't need to be great. A top 10 does it.
Yeah, definitely going to be some nerves on my end. I think just imagining the worst case scenarios as you always can, but I think it'll be important to find a good balance between being conservative and thinking about that championship big picture, but also not letting that conservativeness put you in a bad position. Because
Yeah.
I sometimes it's like when you're on the highway and how keeping up with the flow of traffic, even if it means speeding a little, you end up in safer scenarios than being 10 miles under the pace and somebody passing you every second. So I think it'll just be about finding that right balance and really just finding a place on track where I don't have cars running the high side, running the wall, running the inside, running the middle, because that's what Atlanta always has. You got people spread out everywhere, and it's a hornet's nest. So just trying to stay out of that hornet's nest, not get stung, and bring it home clean.
We're excited for you, and hopefully Atlanta brings everything you hope it brings next Sunday. Before we let you go, like, obviously celebrate your 6th race win this season and get ready for Atlanta next Sunday. If there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. You have been impeccably consistent this season, start to finish. Regardless of what happens next Sunday, good or bad, if the bad does happen, it's been rare for the 22 camp. You seem to avoid most of it. An unforgettable season so far. If there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, take it away. Hopefully we get to talk to you again in the same spot and with even better emotions after next Sunday's race in Atlanta.
Yeah, hopefully, for sure. Definitely just want to say thank you to you and everybody at ABN. It's been so much fun watching the broadcast back after the race, and thanks for pulling up the stat lines and remembering quotes from a year ago. That's really, really awesome on your end, and I really, really appreciate it. It makes it all the more fun. And shout out to everybody at Winstel, Brennan, Christian, Emily, putting this on. It's just been a super fun season, and always makes Sunday night something to look forward to. I want to shout out my mom. I want to shout out Chuck. I want to shout out my grandma. They tune in and really appreciate their support. And thanks for everybody else watching too, and all the competitors for making it fun.
It's been a fantastic season here in Winstel. Jacob Potak has one race to grab a championship next Sunday in Atlanta. We hope to see it happen then. Jacob, congratulations on your 6th win this season. Go get it in Atlanta, and hopefully we'll talk to you again with a championship crown in hand.
Thanks so much, Carmen.
Outstanding job by Jacob Potak here in Phoenix. 6th race win of the season. The stat lines going into this race at the bottom of your screen. Race wins, add 1. Top 5, add 1. Top 10, add 1. He has been on fire from start to finish this season, and it has been so impressive to watch all year long. We ran up the top 10 one more time. We went over the results. They've been at the top of your screen the entire interview process. We'll cover it one more time in depth. Jacob Potak, Christian Budd, Sean Pelleg, your top 3 going through the race at Phoenix. Dylan Roberts, 4th place. Nick Doucette, 5th. Mauricio, 6th. Hendrick Motorsports having themselves a day. Larry Pace, Emily Howell, Lucas Davila, and Ryan Hill, your top 10 here from Arizona. A great result for all of them. 30 cars started, 29 finished here in Phoenix Raceway. Your points as they look, here's your top 10. 3 cars mathematically in the hunt still for the championship. Jacob Potak has a hand on the title going into Atlanta. 94 points is the gap. We mentioned it, a top 10 for Potak. Doesn't matter, Christian Budd does. Potak's champion. Dylan Roberts, even harder of a hill to climb. Needs some luck to really fall his way against both the 17 and the 22 if he wants to be a champion in 2025. Talked about Sean Pelleg. The worst he can finish right now in the points is 6th. He can't fall any further than that, and that's with Emily Howell and Guillermo Mauricio in that competition. Jeremy Davis, Nick Doucette, Brandon McKissick, Tyler Head at the bottom of the top 10. Great regular seasons. It all fell apart in the chase, though, and they'll be looking forward to next season already, trying to put things in order. And then obviously outside the chase, 6 points the gap between Jose Solis Jr., who was not present tonight, and Christina Ryan, who was here tonight, finished 13th. Ryan Hill finished top 10. We saw him on that previous screen, a top 10 finish for him. He also moves up 1 over Brendan McGee, who had a bad race. Kyle Benson's in that conversation, top 15. And then there's an over 100-point buffer between Benson and Evan Locke, and then it spreads out a little bit more all the way down to the 19th to 20th place spots. Austin Reedy and Jordan Barabee, they were tied going in. They still are. Neither of them showed up tonight here in Phoenix. They will be present in Atlanta. And we will go ahead and we'll kind of skip through the top 30 here. Tom Willett still 21st. Kirk Marble still 22nd. They didn't really change positions there. Alex Bates jumped ahead of Brandon Cruz. Alexander jumped ahead of Coppinger. Lon Slager jumped ahead of Rasmus and Cook. Neither of them were present tonight. But then you look at the top 35. Steinhauser moves ahead of Ryan Andrew, gives himself a little bit of a buffer here as Champeau jumps ahead for the 36th position, just outside the top 35 with a race to go for that camp. Andrew Griesbaum, Ryan Doucette, and Andrew Ferrinares, Matt Skipper outside looking in. We'll see how that shakes out here in Atlanta. Atlanta is shaping up to be a pretty frantic race next Sunday, and we're glad for it. But that will do us here in Phoenix Raceway as the sun sets off in the distance. We'll be back again tomorrow. HTL Cup Series action right here, 8 p.m. Eastern in Michigan. And we'll stay in Michigan next Saturday. It is the RX High Octane Series racing in the Great Lakes State. On behalf of everyone here for ABN, for Winstel, and all of its partners, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow night in Michigan. So long, everybody.